Now joining me for a deeper special look at the incredible life of Rona Ramon, who tragically died this week following a bout with pancreatic cancer, is ILTV's own Lieutenant Colonel in the Air Force Reserves, Danny Grossman. Danny, it's a pleasure to have you in the show. Thank you.
I wish it under better circumstances.
So do I, actually. So you actually knew the Ramon family?
Of course. Elon, actually, when he flew the mission to Osirak to bomb the reactor in '81, was in an F-16, and he was an F-16 pilot most of his life.
Sure.
And then he came back to he went out of the Air Force, came back, and he came to our Phantom Squadron, which was a more complicated
squadron. So you're in the same squadron with him?
Yeah, and I actually flew in Elon. We flew, you're seeing in the background, he flew these NASA flight suits. We wore special high-altitude pressure suits for specific missions to do a high-altitude reconnaissance. The first time Elon ever wore a high-pressure suit was in our squadron, doing a high-altitude reconnaissance. Now you can talk about it. Those days it was top secret. And so I actually was one of the senior navigators, and I got to know Elon very well. And he came, when he was in the reactor, he was single, and he came back, and he got married, young family. And Rona was the wife of the deputy squadron commander, which is a very important position. Okay. But she herself, she wasn't just the wife of, she had real gravitas, and you could see that right away. She had a presence about her. And she was someone who was absolutely noble in everything she had done. You know, she had been a part of a bereft family prior to that, and she dealt with that. And then, of course, when Elon was killed, she came back, and she was absolutely noble in starting everything that she did with the Ramon Foundation. And she touched the hearts, not only of us, but she touched the hearts of all the people at NASA, who she helped bring here to the Ramon conference every year in space.
And I know NASA actually also sent out their condolences.
Oh, absolutely. And the people there loved her. The fellow astronauts, not only from the mission, but all of the astronauts and all the astronauts who came. And Charlie Bolden, the former head of NASA and the current head of NASA, people really connected with her. And by the way, American Jews also connected with her as well, because she was someone, she and Elon didn't actually grow up, they weren't a religious family.
Sure.
But Elon grasped with both hands what it meant to be the first, not Jewish astronaut, because there were like 12, 13 Jewish astronauts. If you Google Jewish astronauts, there are a lot, including a cosmonaut. But he was the first representative of the reborn Jewish state, and he grabbed that. And he flew with the Torah, and he had Hebrew music songs, including, you know, you hear the song that Rona woke him up. You know, Good Morning Red Team, and then a song by Arik Einstein from the Halonot HaGvoim talking about, do you hear my voice? All these things, you know, you hear, they were people who lived modern Israel, and they recognized, both of them, what it meant to be representatives of the Jewish state.
So, and that's it. You know, you talked a little bit about how Rona and Elon were, you know, very well respected and loved by their American counterparts as well, you know, at NASA, and they, you know, and they spent a number of years in the United States living there. I know Asaf grew up in the States for a little while and was even, I guess, you know, in her book, in Rona's book, My Heroes, she writes about how Asaf was very nervous to come back to Israel, and then he still, you know, passed into the flight course that Elon was in.
Was about to come back. He was, you know, he went to high school in America, Texas, Houston, Texas. What's the big thing in Texas? Football. So he wanted to play football. So he knew that I was very into all of American sports here. So he said, can you hook me up with a football team? I said, no problem. I hooked him up with one of the Israeli football teams. And then he called me up 2 weeks later and says, you know what, I don't want to play football. I'll screw up my knees, and then I won't be able to be, he didn't say I won't be able to be a fighter pilot. He said, that'll prevent me from becoming an astronaut. He knew right then, as a 16-year-old kid, that where he wanted to go. And when he graduated, he was the top graduate of the class, not because he was the son of, but because he was an amazing force on his own.
And we know that Rona was equally amazing and pushed him and never stood in his way. And,
not that she never stood in his way. She
encouraged him through everything.
She had perhaps what I think is the cruelest thing in the Israeli society, which is that a mother, a bereaved mother, has to actually sign a waiver to allow her son to go into any combat role, not just a fighter pilot. Sure. So here she had to sign this paper where either you sign it and you allow him to fulfill his personal dream and become a fighter pilot, or you don't, and then it's a horrible thing. And Rona, in her own life, dealt with this, and she dealt with this with such nobility, and she dealt with this, you know, only looking ahead. I think the final word is, I would think, she would say that she never looked at herself as as the book of Job, or someone who had suffered. She looked at everything that life threw at her as a challenge to give her wings. And that's the way she helped people in the Ramon Foundation and in the Foundation for the Son, for Safi, and
that's
helping people. That's what she was all about. An amazing person. We will all miss her.
All right, Danny, thank you so much for coming in, and yeah, we certainly owe a very large debt to Rona. All right, thank you.
Thank you.